CQ calling all radio amateurs and listeners. This is Golf Bravo 2 Romeo Sierra, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain. This broadcast comes to you from amateur radio station Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Mappishall, Bedfordshire. Welcome and thanks for joining us. It's Sunday the 7th of July and here is the GB2RS news broadcast, which was prepared for you by the RSGB and it's made available to all radio amateurs and listeners. You can also find this news bulletin on the RSGB website at rsgb.org, along with links to groups and organisations that may be mentioned in this broadcast. This week's news headlines. There's a new direct-to-full examination syllabus which has just been released. The RSGB announces its representative for the 2024 YOTA Camp. And for keen constructors, we have news of the RSGB British Science Week Time Challenge. We'll have more on those items shortly, but first, the new amateur radio licence has been out for a few months, and changes to the licence conditions have meant changes to the exam syllabus. Tony Kent, Golf 8 Papa Bravo Hotel, he's the RSGB Examination Standards Committee Chair, is pleased to release version 2 of the direct-to-full syllabus, and that includes these revisions. Compared to the current version, the major changes are to Section 1, that's the Licensing and Station Identification section. Now, there are also minor changes to Section 2, that's the Operating Practices and Procedures, and that's regarding the use of suffixes. And the RSGB will start examining to version 2 of the syllabus from October 2024. And just to note that it won't be taking any bookings for September's direct-to-full examinations. And if you're interested in reading the syllabus, you can find that on the RSGB website. It's available to read at rsgb.org/direct-2, that's letters Tango Oscar, -full, that's Foxtrot Uniform Lima Lima. So that's rsgb.org/direct-2-full. Now we're pleased to announce that Rhys Williams, Mike Zero Whiskey Golf Yankee, who also has the call sign Alpha Juliet 6 X-Ray Delta, will represent the RSGB at this summer's Youngsters on the Air Camp. The event is organised by the IARU Region 1 Youth Working Group, along with the Czech Radio Club, and it will run from the 16th to the 23rd of August this year, and it's being held in Prague, Czechia. Rhys is studying aerospace engineering at Cambridge, and he'll also be doing a PhD in engineering at Oxford from September. He enjoys the building aspect of amateur radio, as well as contesting with his university amateur radio club. You can find more information about Rhys and this year's YOTA Camp at rsgb.org/YOTA, that's Yankee Oscar Tango Alpha, -camp, that's Charlie Alpha Mike Papa. Now, if you're looking for your next construction challenge, the RSGB British Science Week Time Challenge could be the one for you. The challenge is to provide a method to measure the frequency of a radio frequency signal or to provide a time reference to a radio operator or a radio system. And you must use readily available components, materials or resources, and the activity is open to all ages and it has 3 entry categories. The first one is for under 18s or still at school. The next category is under 21 or an undergraduate up to the age of 23. And the third category is an open category with no age restrictions. You can enter as an individual or as a group, and the winner of each category will win a prize of £150, with the winners being announced at this year's RSGB convention, which is in October. The deadline for entries is the 1st of September, and you can find out more at rsgb.org/BSW. That's Bravo Sierra Whiskey, short for British Science Week. And you can select the time-related challenge link under the header BSW24. Now remember, you can get involved in the new GR2HQ challenge. That's next weekend, the 13th and 14th of July, and that's part of the IARU HF World Championship contest. You can take part as individuals, but you can also benefit your club, so encourage your club members to take part, whether they're regular contesters or not. During the contest, headquarters stations representing their countries will be contactable, and the RSGB station will have the call sign Golf Romeo 2 Hotel Quebec, and that will be run by a network of about a dozen stations around the UK. You'll be able to submit your log, including contacts with GR2HQ, to the RSGB contest robot for the GR2HQ challenge. And if you include your club or group name when you submit your log, each contact with GR2HQ will count towards an aggregate score for your club or team. And you can read more about this in the June Radcom feature on the GR2HQ challenge, and you can see the rules on the RSGB website. You'll find that at thersgb.org/go, that's Golf Oscar, /GR2HQ, that's Golf Romeo 2 Hotel Quebec. TX Factor has released its latest episode, in which there's a look at the ICR15 communications receiver, and this is the latest offering from ICOM. Bob, Golf 0 Foxtrot Golf X-Ray, and Mike, Golf 1 India Alpha Romeo, discuss how to configure the Anytone BT01 Bluetooth microphone with the Anytone 80D578, and that will be ideal for mobile operating. And finally, there's the second part of a feature on using the QO100 satellite with the Ground Station 2 from DX Patrol. You can see this and earlier episodes at txfactor.co.uk, or you can have a look on the YouTube channel of TX Factor. Now we have a reminder that the next RSGB Tonight at 8 webinar is tomorrow, Monday the 8th of July. And in this episode, Hans Summers, G0UPL from QRP Labs, will be giving a presentation on the QMX Plus multi-mode 160 to 6 meter transceiver kit, and he'll be going over the design and features. And so this is a great chance for you to find out more and to ask questions live on the night. And you can watch Hans on the RSGB YouTube channel or the special BATC channel. And to find out more about the webinar on the RSGB website, go to rsgb.org/webinars, and that's spelt Whiskey Echo Bravo, India November, Alpha Romeo Sierra. And now we have details of rallies and events. The Barford Radio Rally takes place a little bit later today, the 7th. That's at the Barford Village Hall and Green near Norwich, and the postcode is November Romeo 9 for Alpha Bravo. The doors open at 9 a.m. and the event has trade stands, car boot sales, a bring and buy, a charity raffle, repeater groups, catering and free car parking. Entering is £2.50 and under 16s get in for free. You can read more about the event at Norfolk Amateur Radio, that's all one word, .org, or you can email David, Golf 7 Uniform Romeo Papa. His email address is radio@dcpmicro.com, and DCP Micro is spelled Delta Charlie Papa, Mike India Charlie Romeo Oscar. The Cornish Radio Amateur Club Rally is also on a little later today, the 7th, and that's being held at the Pen Air School. That's in Truro, Cornwall, and the postcode is Tango Romeo 1 Tango November. Doors will open at 10:30 and admission is £3. Traders, bring and buy, club stalls, car parking and catering are all available on site, and if you need more information you can contact Ken, G0FIC. His phone number is 01209 821073, and he'll be happy to give you any information you need. The Cambridge Repeater Group Rally will take place next Sunday the 14th at the Foxton Village Hall. That's on Hardeman Road in Foxton, Cambridgeshire, and the postcode for your sat-nav is Charlie Bravo 226 Romeo November. The doors will open at 9:30 a.m. for visitors and 7:30 a.m. for traders, There's a car boot sale, talk-in, trade stands, clubs and a bring and buy area. There's also a free marshalled car park and a burger van on site. For more information, you can visit the event website, which is Cambridge Repeaters, that's all one word, cambridgerepeaters.net. And when you're on the site, click on the Rally tab. And on the same day, Sunday the 14th, it's the Lincoln Shortwave Club Summer Rally. And that's being held at Raisin Festival Hall on Caister Road. And the postcode is Lima November 8, 3 Hotel Tango. Doors will open at 10 a.m. Entry's £3, and they have refreshments and ample free car parking. You can get more information, including contact details, on the event's website, which is tinyurl.com/ and I'll spell this bit phonetically, Lima Sierra Whiskey Charlie 2024. That's LSWC 2024. And finally, news of the Michael Radio and Electronics Rally and Car Boot Sale, which also takes place next week, Sunday the 14th. This is being held at the Reading Rugby Club. That's in Home Park on Sunning Lane, Reading. And the postcode is Romeo Golf 4 6 Sierra Tango. Doors open at 9 a.m. for visitors and 8 a.m. for traders. There are refreshments and ample car parking available. And for more information, visit McMichael Rally, which I'll spell for you. That's Mike Charlie, Mike India, Charlie Hotel, Alpha Echo, Lima Romeo, Alpha Lima, Lima Yankee. That's mcmichaelrally.org.uk. And now we have the special event news. Special call sign Oscar Romeo 100 Lima Golf Echo is in use now by members of the Liège Radio Club. Their normal call sign is Oscar November 5 Victor Lima, and they'll be operating throughout 2024 to celebrate the club's 100th anniversary. You can look for activity on the 160 to 6 metre bands using Morse code SSB, FT8 and FT4. You can QSL via Logbook of the World, EQSL, or via Oscar November 6 Yankee Hotel. And contacts will also be uploaded to Clublog. Next we have news of Sierra Kilo 100 Foxtrot Romeo Kilo, which is the special call sign in use by the Falou Radio Club. Their normal call sign Sierra Kilo 4 Alpha Oscar, and that's to celebrate their 100th anniversary. The station will be active until the end of 2024, and you can find details of an award that's available. Find the details on the qrz.com website and look up the call sign Sierra Kilo 100 Foxtrot Romeo Kilo. And now let's see what the DX news is for this week. Bo Oscar Zulu 1 Delta Juliet Juliet is active as Oscar X-Ray 3 Lima X-Ray. He'll be operating from Greenland until the 16th of July. He's operating on the 6 and 4 metre bands as well as on HF, and he's mostly using FT8. You can QSL via Oscar Zulu 0 Juliet. Next we have news of Zolt, call sign Hotel Alpha 8 Papa X-Ray. He's active as Sierra 79 / Hotel Alpha 8 Papa X-Ray. He's operating from Mahe Island. That's IOTA reference Alpha Foxtrot 024 in the Seychelles. And he'll be active until Wednesday the 10th of July. He's operating mainly Morse code, but also some SSB and FT8, and he's operating on various HF bands. You can QSL via Clublog's OQRS or directly to Hotel Alpha 8 Papa X-Ray. And now we have details of a busy contest calendar. A VHF National Field Day started at 1400 UTC yesterday, Saturday the 6th of July, and it ends at 1400 UTC today, Sunday the 7th of July. You can use all modes on the VHF bands, and the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. Also today it's the third 144 MHz Backpackers contest, and that runs from 1100 to 1500 UTC with all modes on the 2 metre band, and the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. Then on Tuesday the 9th it's the 432 MHz FM activity contest, and that runs from 1800 to 1855 UTC. This contest uses FM on the 70 centimetre band and the exchange's signal report, serial number and locator. Also on Tuesday the 9th, it's the 432 MHz UK activity contest, and this runs from 1900 to 2130 UTC. Using all modes on the 70 centimetre band, the exchange's signal report, serial number and locator. Then moving on to Wednesday the 10th, we have the 432 MHz FT8 activity 4-hour contest, and that runs from 1700 to 2100 UTC. Using FT8 on the 70 centimetre band, the exchange's report and 4-character locator. And on the same day, it's the 432 MHz FT8 activity 2-hour contest. That runs from 1900 to 2100 UTC. Also using FT8 on the 70 centimetre band, the exchange's report and 4-character locator. And if you enter the 4-hour contest, you can also enter the 2-hour contest. On Wednesday the 10th, it's the 80 metre club championship contest, and that runs from 1900 to 2030 UTC. Using SSB on the 80 metre band, the exchange's signal report and serial number. Next on Thursday the 11th, it's the 50 MHz UK activity contest, and that runs from 1900 to 2130 UTC. Using all modes on the 6 metre band, the exchange's signal report, serial number and locator. Then on Saturday the 13th of July, we have the start of the IARU HF World Championship, and that starts at 1200 UTC on the 13th and ends at 1200 UTC on Sunday the 14th of July. Using CW and SSB on the 160 to 10 metre bands, where contests are allowed, the exchange's signal report and your ITU zone. And then finally on Sunday the 14th, it's the UK microwave groups 24, 47 and 76 GHz contest, and that runs from 0900 to 1700 UTC. Using all modes on the 24, 27 and 76 GHz bands, the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. Well, that's all from the contest news. We now move across to the radio propagation report, and this is the HF section of the propagation report, compiled by Golf 0 Kilo Yankee Alpha, Golf 3 Yankee Lima Alpha and Golf 4 Bravo Alpha Oscar on Thursday the 4th. After unstable conditions last weekend, the sun has since behaved itself, which has allowed HF propagation to get back to normal. And just to remind you, the KP index hit 7.67 on Friday the 28th of June, and that was because of incoming plasma from a coronal mass ejection. For a while it looked like we might have a repeat performance of the 10th of May, when the KP index hit 9 and there was visible aurora across the UK. This time though, conditions calmed down, and 24 hours later the KP index had dropped back down to 2.33. Since then, the sun has remained calm with only 2 M-class and no X-class flares, and the KP index is back to a level between 1 and 3. And this means that the ionosphere has had a chance to build up, and we have seen maximum usable frequencies over a 3,000 kilometre path exceed 21 MHz and often reaching 24 MHz, and that's pretty good considering we're in the summer HF doldrums. Looking at the sun's active sunspot regions, we can see that 2 are growing, 5 are declining and 1 is stable. Whispernet.org shows that signals have been getting to the UK from Australia, New Zealand, Japan and the Far East on the 15 metre band, while the 10 metre band is still marginally open to short hop sporadic E conditions across Europe. The solar flux index had dropped over the past week and was 167 on Thursday the 4th of July. And next week NOAA predicts that it will remain around the 170 mark with quiet geomagnetic conditions. Solar flares and coronal mass ejections are hard to predict, so keep an eye on solarham.com and propquest.co.uk for real-time data on solar and geomagnetic conditions. And now we move up to the VHF and up propagation news, which was compiled by G3YLA and G4BAO. Well, the weather sequence to the end of next week is all about areas of low pressure, showers and weather fronts. So tropo conditions are unlikely and no high pressure systems appear on the charts at all. We can leave rain scatter on the list because during summer there's a lot of energy in the showers and some may be heavy and thundery, so could be good for rain scatter. Meteor scatter is most likely around dawn when random meteor scatter tends to be more prevalent. The solar conditions are variable, so it's worth checking for high KP index values, which can be a sign for aurora, especially when the KP index rises to 5 or more. The sporadic E season continues, although the recent high KP indices are not ideal for sporadic E, which is normally best when the KP index is below 3. The other good ingredient for sporadic E is jet streams in the upper atmosphere at around 10 to 15 kilometers up, and they can generate atmospheric gravity waves that can rise up to the E region at 110 kilometers, where they can help to trigger sporadic E. This unsettled weather provides plenty of jet streams, so it's still worth checking for sporadic E, and a look at the upper air pattern suggests that paths towards Scandinavia and the Baltic may be the best, and perhaps to Iberia later next week. Moon declination is near maximum positive this coming weekend, so moon peak elevation will be high. Moon apogee is on Friday the 12th, so Earth-Moon-Earth path losses continue to rise. 144 MHz sky noise will remain low for the entire week. And that's all from the propagation team this week. This is Golf Bravo 2 Romeo Sierra, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain, and this transmission is being brought to you by Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Meppishall, Bedfordshire. Next we have the local news, and please note that details of all RSGB affiliated clubs and societies are available on the RSGB website, and that includes email addresses and website links where we have them. We start off with news for the Midlands and looking at meetings of the Bolsover Amateur Radio Society. They take place every other Tuesday starting at 8 p.m. Oh, that's a Spitfire just going past the window. Sorry about that. Where were we? Sorry, I was distracted by the Spitfire. Starting at 8 p.m. at the Bainbridge Hall, Bolsover, S44 6PX. You can find more information on the Bolsover Amateur Radio Club's activities and reminders on meetings on their Facebook page, which is at Bolsover ARS. And you can also contact Vin Golf 4 Kilo Sierra Yankee. His phone number is 01246 827 135. The Bromsgrove and District Amateur Radio Club meets every Friday from 8 p.m. Members also have a regular coffee morning on Wednesdays in the club shack, and they start at 10:30 a.m. Then on Monday and Wednesday evenings they meet on 145.375 MHz from 7:30 p.m. Burton Amateur Radio Club has open nets around 145.575 MHz at 10 a.m. on Sundays and 8 p.m. on Thursdays. On Monday they have slow Morse code exercises. Those are held on 14.055 MHz from 11 a.m. And the club meets every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. and then on Thursday they have a net on 145.575 MHz from 8 p.m. Central Radio Amateur Circle have their net on 145.575 from 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday and from 12 p.m. on Saturday, and the group will be having a Google meeting at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Cheltenham Amateur Radio Association meet every day on 145.400 MHz at 8:10 a.m. and for more information on the club you can visit their website, which is golf5bravokilo.uk. On Friday, members of the Coventry Amateur Radio Society meet to listen to a talk entitled Eclipse 2024 and Other Tales. Dudley and District Amateur Radio Society get together every Tuesday from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Wrighton Mill on 59 Vale Street, Upper Gornal in Dudley, and the postcode is Delta Yankee 3 X-Ray Foxtrot. The Gloucester Amateur Radio and Electronic Society have an informal net every day on 145.475 MHz at 3:30 p.m. Then on Wednesday they meet at 7:30 p.m. on 145.475 MHz, and on Thursday they meet again at 7:30 p.m. on 145.475, and then move to 80 meters at SSB. On Friday, the net is on 432.220 MHz SSB starting at 7:30 p.m. And on Saturday, it's the Society's Open Day, and that will be running from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Members of the Hinckley Amateur Radio and Electronic Society are active this weekend for the VHF National Field Day, and that's today the 7th. And then on Tuesday, the Society will take part in the 432 MHz UK Activity Contest. And on Wednesday, the members will meet at the Infant School in Burbage. Kettering and District Amateur Radio Society has a breakfast meeting from 10 a.m. on Sundays, and on Tuesday they have a club meeting from 7 p.m. And then on Thursday they get together on the air on 145.300 MHz from 7 p.m. On Monday, Leicester Radio Society have their club meeting at the HQ, and at the same time they meet via Zoom, and that starts at 7:30 p.m. Then on Thursday they'll have a club meeting from 10 a.m. Members of the Lincoln Shortwave Club will meet at the BSA Village Hall from 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday and from 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. Then on Thursday they'll meet through Golf Bravo 3 Lima Sierra or 145.350 if the repeater is unavailable. And for more information and times you can visit the club website, which is golf5foxtrotzulu.co.uk. On Tuesday, Loughborough and District Amateur Radio Club will be operating portable from Wymeswold, and that's subject to the weather. And for more information, visit radioclub.org.uk. The Malvern Hills Radio Amateurs Club meet on Thursday the 9th of July, and were going to meet on Thursday the 9th of July, but this has been cancelled, and that's due to a clash with the Euro 2024 football competition. The club net on 145.350 MHz will take place as usual on the 10th of July at 8 p.m, and the informal meetings on the 4th Tuesdays of the month continue as normal. On Wednesday, Midland Amateur Radio Society is holding a short committee meeting at 7:15 p.m. and then running training classes. On Monday, Nunsfield House Amateur Radio Group will have a shack night and club net on 145.3 MHz from 8 p.m, and on Friday members will meet to discuss pirate offshore radio. On Monday, RAF Waddington Amateur Radio Club has a net on 145.325 MHz from 7:30 p.m, and on Wednesday they have Morse code practice at 8 p.m. on 144.085 MHz. Then the club will meet at the Pi Wipe from 8 p.m. on Friday. Rugby Amateur Transmitting Society has weekday nets at 8:30 a.m. on 144.275 MHz upper sideband. They also have training and practice Morse code nets, which take place on Monday and Thursday. That's at 4:30 p.m. on 144.275 MHz. It initially starts off using upper sideband voice, then once everyone's gathered, that moves across to Morse code. The Society will meet from 8 p.m. on Tuesday and from 2 p.m. on Saturday. That's at the Borton Lee 12th Rugby Scouts Hut. Then on Friday there's a net from 8 p.m. on 1913 kHz. Listen out for Salop Amateur Radio Society, which is active during VHF National Field Day today the 7th, and members will meet for a club and shack night on Thursday. Also on Thursday, Solihull Amateur Radio Society has a net around 145.450 MHz from 8 p.m. South Birmingham Radio Society has open club nights on Fridays from 7:30 p.m. Visitors are also welcome to attend the Society's Tuesday coffee mornings, which start at 10:30 a.m. On Tuesday, South Derbyshire and Ashby Wolds Amateur Radio Group has an open net on 144.225 MHz SSB. That starts at 7 p.m. and members have a club evening from 7 p.m. on Wednesday, and Friday is the net on 70.425 MHz, which starts at 7 p.m. On Sundays, Stafford and Districts Amateur Radio Society has a net on 145.375 MHz from 8 p.m, and on Wednesdays members meet at the Wildwood Community Centre from 8 p.m. Stourbridge and District Amateur Radio Society will meet at Norton Snooker Club from 8 p.m. on Monday. Also on Monday, Stratford upon Avon and District Radio Society have their net on 145.275 MHz at 8 p.m. And for more information you can visit the club's website, which is Stratford Radio Society, that's all one word, .org.uk. On Monday, Sutton Coldfield Amateur Radio Society will meet at the Pavilion, that's on 9 Openfield Croft in Water Orton, and the meeting will start at 8 p.m. Telford and District Amateur Radio Society will be active for the VHF National Field Day today, and on Wednesday members will meet for a barbecue. Wolverhampton Amateur Radio Society meet every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. at the Wednesfield and Woodend British Legion. Then on Sundays they have a net around 145.350 MHz from 8 p.m. And for more information on the club, visit their website, which is wolverhamptonars, that's all one word, .co.uk, or on social media, have a look at @wolvesars. On Sundays, Withell Radio Club has its net on 145.225 MHz from 7 p.m, and on Tuesdays members will meet for a club night from 7:30 p.m. That's all for the Midlands. We now move down to the South East and East Anglia. On Wednesday, Bishop Stortford Amateur Radio Society has its net from 8 p.m. on 145.5625 MHz, and everyone's welcome to join in. The net for the Bracknell Amateur Radio Club is through the Golf Bravo 3 Bravo November repeater. That's from 5 p.m. on Sundays, and on Wednesday members will meet for a picnic and field operating session. On Tuesday from 8 p.m, Braintree and District Amateur Radio Society will meet in its clubhouse for a show and tell evening from 8 p.m. On Wednesday, Bromley and District Amateur Radio Society has a net which will start at 145.500 MHz from 9 p.m. And for more information on the club, visit their website, which is Bravo Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra .wordpress.com. Burnham Beeches Radio Club has its net from 10:30 a.m. on Sundays, starting on 145.500 MHz before it changes frequency to 145.275 MHz. Bury St Edmunds Amateur Radio Society meets at the Rougham Tower Museum on the third Wednesday of each month. It's a small but very active club, and there are club nets every day of the week except Sunday. You can find details on the club's website, which is Bravo Sierra Echo Alpha Romeo Sierra.co.uk, and the club's general chat frequencies are 144.7375 MHz FM and 433.400 MHz FM. On Sundays, Chelmsford Amateur Radio Society has a Morse code net on 144.060 MHz. That starts at 8 p.m. Then on Monday there are Morse code classes from 7:30 p.m. around 3542 kHz, and that's followed at 8:15 p.m. by Golf Bravo 2 Charlie Whiskey slow Morse transmissions on 3555 kHz. On Tuesday they have an open net through Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha, that's from 8 p.m, and then on Thursday they have more Morse code classes, this time via Skype, and that starts at 7 p.m. On Tuesday, the Chelsea Pensioners Radio Club has a net on 145.375 MHz from 2 p.m. Today the 7th, the Colchester Radio Amateurs Club has an open net on 50.225 MHz from 7 p.m. and on Tuesday there are nets on 433.400 MHz from 7 p.m. and 1.920 MHz lower sideband from 8 p.m. Then on Wednesday they have an open net around 145.350 MHz from 7 p.m. On Thursday, they meet on 3.685 MHz from 5 p.m. and on Friday, they meet for DX on 14.125 MHz with assistance on 145.350 MHz from 2:30 p.m. On Sundays, Coulsdon Amateur Transmitting Society has its net on 145.400 MHz from 11 a.m. and on 3.700 MHz from 5 p.m. And their members will get together for a club meeting on Monday. And on Wednesday, they'll meet for a net on 70.425 MHz from 9 p.m. Crawley Amateur Radio Club will meet from 11 a.m. on Sunday, 8 p.m. on Wednesday and 2 p.m. on Friday. The club meets at Hut 18, that's on Tilgate Drive in Crawley, and the postcode is Romeo Hotel 105 Hotel Whiskey. You can get more information from Stuart, G4JBD. His phone number is 0772 006 8493. Cray Valley Radio Society's 2 metre and 4 metre FM nets are held on 145.350 MHz on Sundays at 10 a.m. and 70.425 MHz on Fridays at 8 p.m. They also have a top band SSB net which later moves to AM, and that's on the first Monday of each month, and that's held around 1905 kHz at 8 p.m. On Wednesdays, Crystal Palace Radio and Electronics Club has a net on 145.525 MHz from 8 p.m. and on Saturdays the club has a net on 51.550 MHz FM from 8 p.m. On Sunday, Darenth Valley Radio Society has a net on 145.475 MHz at 8 a.m. Dorking and District Radio Society has a net each day from Monday to Saturday on 144.775 MHz FM at 10 a.m. On Thursday, Edgware and District Radio Society will listen to a talk by Godfrey, Golf 4 Golf Lima Mike, and that's entitled Hollow State. Essex Ham have a net on Monday via Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha starting at 8 p.m. and they also have chat room and audio feed at essexham.net. On Tuesday, Fareham and District Amateur Radio Club have their net on 145.475 MHz FM from 7 p.m. and on Thursday they have a net on 1.967 MHz from 7 p.m. And you can find more about the club's activities on their website, which is Fareham-DARC, that's Delta Alpha Romeo Charlie.co.uk. Now listen out for members of the Farnborough and District Radio Society who will be active for VHF National Field Day today. And for more information visit farnboroughradio, all one word, .org.uk. On Sundays, Felixstowe and District Amateur Radio Society have a net on 145.400 MHz from 10 a.m. and on Wednesday they have a net through the Golf Bravo 3 India Hotel repeater from 7:30 p.m. On Thursday, Fort Purbrook Amateur Radio Club have an open net via GB3CW from 7:30 p.m. On Tuesday, Harlow and District Amateur Radio Society will have a technical evening, and on Wednesday they'll have a net on 145.425 MHz from 7:30 p.m. Then on Friday the Society will meet from 8 p.m. and visitors are welcome to attend. Hastings Electronics and Radio Club holds a daily net on the GB2RS repeater from 10 a.m. They also have a Morse code net on Monday nights at 8 p.m. on 144.575 MHz. And the Morse code net is aimed at anyone new to Morse code or who wishes to brush up on their Morse code skills, and non-members are welcome to join in. The net is then followed by general conversation. Then on Wednesdays, usually at 1 p.m, members meet up at various locations in the area for an afternoon of portable radio on the air, both HF and VHF, using SSB, Morse code and FM. And once again, non-members are welcome to take part. The details do vary each week, so it's a good idea to visit the club's website, which is hastings-electronics-radio-club.com. Do that on the Wednesday morning, and there you'll be able to view up-to-date information about the location and time of the next field meeting. Excuse me. Hogs Back Amateur Radio Club will meet for a natter night tomorrow, Monday the 8th. On Sundays, Horndean District Amateur Radio Club have a Morse code net at 9 AM around 1950 kHz and then move to SSB at 9:30 AM. They also have an 8 PM net on 433.450 MHz. Then on Monday, they have a net around 1950 kHz from 7:30 PM, and that moves to 145.375 MHz on Wednesday. Again, the time is 7:30 PM. Then on Friday, members will be operating from the Fort. On Sundays, the Isle of Wight Radio Society has a net via GB7PO and GB7MT. That's from 8 PM. And on Monday to Friday, the Society has a net via GB3IW. That's from 6:15 AM. Then on Tuesday, the Society takes part in the Bramble Net through GB3IW. That's from 7:30 PM. And on Thursday, there's another net via GB3IW, which is followed by a Zoom meeting from 8 PM. On Fridays, members meet at the Haylands Farm in Ryde, and foundation and intermediate licence training is available at those meetings. The next meeting of the Itchen Valley Amateur Radio Club will be held on Friday from 8 PM. On Tuesday, the Leiston Amateur Radio Club will meet at the school on Waterloo Avenue, and the postcode is India Papa 164 Hotel Echo. The Loughton and Epping Forest Amateur Radio Society will have a net on Wednesday from 8 PM on Brandmeister DMR Talk Group 23511. Then on Thursday, they'll get together at 8 PM on 144.725 MHz FM, and they'll meet in person on Friday at All Saints House, and the meeting starts at 8 PM. The Lowestoft District and Pye Amateur Radio Club has a net on Sundays on 433.575 MHz. Those nets start at 8 PM, and on Tuesday they have a net on 145.475 MHz at 8 PM. Then the club meets in person on Thursday evenings from 7:30 PM, and the final net of the week is on 51.490 MHz on Friday at 8 PM. The Martello Tower Group has a net night every Monday evening at 8 PM via Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Lima, and on Sundays the group has a net via Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Echo at 8 PM. The Medway Amateur Receiving and Transmitting Society nets take place each weekday from 9:30 AM on 144.650 MHz. On Friday, Mid Sussex Amateur Radio Society will meet at the Millfield Suite from 7:30 PM, and that's to listen to a talk by Gwyn, G3ZIL, on the subject of HF noise reduction with home ideas. And this will be via Zoom, but local members are invited to attend in person. There'll be refreshments including tea, coffee and biscuits available at a small cost. On Saturday, Newbury and District Amateur Radio Society will meet for a barbecue, and members and their families are all invited. Norfolk Amateur Radio Club has a net via GB3NB every Monday from 7:30 PM, followed by a Morse code net on 3543 kHz at 8:30 PM. On Thursday, Shefford and District Amateur Radio Society will meet for a social evening before the start of their summer break. They still meet on the air on Mondays at 7 PM on 1985 kHz and on Wednesdays on 2 meters through Golf Bravo 3 Papa India at 8 PM. And everyone's welcome to join in both of those nets. For more information on the club, you can visit their website, which is Sierra Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.co.uk. On Wednesday, Southdown Amateur Radio Society will have a cafe meeting at 12:15 PM, and this will be followed by a net via Golf Bravo 3 Zulu X-Ray from 2 PM. On Thursday, South Essex Amateur Radio Society will meet at St Michael's Church in Dawes Heath, and that's from 7:30 PM. Stevenage and District Amateur Radio Society meet every Tuesday evening from 7:30 PM at the Stevenage Resource Centre on Chells Way in Stevenage, and the postcode is Sierra Golf 20 Lima Tango. They have free tea, coffee and biscuits for everyone attending, and a club net is usually organised each Tuesday evening from 8 p.m. on 145.450 MHz. They also have a net on Thursday evenings on the 80 metre band, close to 3.727 MHz, using the club call sign Golf 3 Sierra Alpha Delta. You can get more information on the club's website, which is Sierra Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.com. On Sundays, Surrey Radio Contact Club have a net on 1.905 MHz at 9:30 a.m. Then on Monday they have a net on 3.710 MHz lower sideband from 9 a.m. On Tuesday the net is on 51.550 MHz at 8 p.m. and on Wednesday it's on 28.078 MHz JS8 starting at 10 a.m. Then on Thursday the net moves to 4 meters on 70.300 MHz from 8 p.m. and on Friday they go to D-Star on 144.6125 MHz at 7:30 p.m. and FM on 145.350 MHz at 8 p.m. On Sundays, the West Kent Amateur Radio Society has a net on 28.730 MHz from 11 a.m. and on Monday members will meet at Bidborough to discuss AM radio and the one transistor transmitter. The Wednesday net starts on 51.510 MHz FM before changing frequency. And that ends this week's GB2RS news broadcast, which was brought to you by Graham, Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Mappishall, Bedfordshire. The news was compiled by the Radio Society of Great Britain, who represent amateur radio and radio amateurs in the United Kingdom and abroad. If you have a news item to share, please email it to us as far in advance as possible so we can include it for you free of charge in the GB2RS news broadcast, Radcom magazine and the RSGB website. Send it to the editorial team, whose email address is radcom@rsgb.org.uk, and the deadline is the Thursday prior to the Sunday broadcast. The RSGB will retain copyright over all material transmitted, and you can find information about amateur radio on our website, and the web address is rsgb.org. And you can also download the full schedule of GB2RS broadcasts from rsgb.org/GB2RS schedule. We wish you 73 from the GB2RS news team, hoping you have a lovely Sunday and a great week ahead, and I'll be back again next week. And this is G4JBD, now listening for any calls or reports.